you guys taking the time to join us this afternoon. I'm excited to hear what Mary Kay has to say, and we're excited to learn some new things, and definitely appreciate the partnership with the FAMP and FAMB Foundation. So Mary Kay, have at it.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'm super excited about this particular presentation because it is about time management, but it's specifically some tools and tips that I think are just perfect for originators. I know that in my career, I've been a loan originator, I've been an underwriter, I've been an underwriting manager, and so I do really understand really what a time commitment it is for all of you to try to be available for all of your customers, and some of them want you 24/7. So the first thing that I think is very motivating about dealing with time management is to just think about one thing, and that is, how do you want to feel at the end of the day? So you put your hours in, you have your personal life, you have your business life, you have to try to make those merge. How do you want to feel at the end of a day? Do you want to feel like that was a good day? Do you want to feel exhausted and that you didn't get anything accomplished and frustrated? Or do you want to say, I got a lot accomplished, there's always more to do, but I feel like I managed the time well. I gave myself a little bit of time to maybe work out, to go to the store, to run some personal errands, whatever that might be. So I'm hoping that you're going for option B, which is to feel at least really good about what you've done, what you had accomplished during that time frame. So the only way to do that is to really take ownership of your day. How to make that happen? Identify what's really important to you. You're going to be shocked at some of the statistics that I'm going to share with you. I know I was really, when I was researching, really surprised about some of them. I think that it's also important to really not only identify what's important to you, but what are the tasks that you have to accomplish on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that are the most action-packed of you getting things done that align with what's important to you. So it really just all goes back full circle. What I want to share with you are some tips to really be a master at that time, and then identify and at least fake promise me that you will take one of the things that we've talked about and just to see if it works, just test it out. See if it will be meaningful to you and it was beneficial for you. Everybody would like to make more time. We can't. You might want a time machine. You don't have one. So we all have 168 hours in a week. The only thing we can do with that is figure out what in the world are we doing in that 168 hours a week. So you're the one that's in control of all of the tasks that you do. So this by far is the one that I'm most passionate about, and I 100% believe that it will be the most meaningful for you to do. If you do anything after this class, this is what I want you to do, because I think that anything after would be hard to do if you didn't do this. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about you figuring out what you do 24 hours a day, what you do 168 hours in a week. So what do I mean by that? Well, these are one of the statistics that I wanted to share with you. If we look at all the things that you do, the average work day, all of the tasks, all of the buttons you're pushing, all of the emails that you're looking at, all of the things that you're doing, 80% of what you do is really spent on things that have little or no value to your overall goals. Now, let me clarify that. You might have to follow up on something that you say have to review a report of your pipeline for your sales manager. Well, that to you has very little importance. That has little to no value to you. It's for your sales manager. But you do have to be a good corporate citizen. So just because it's not something that is immediately related to your goal, you can't ignore it. You do have to do it. So because it's important to somebody on your team, then it does have to be classified as important or crucial for you to do. So it's not, oh, that wasn't important to me because I don't like to do it. That's not how you classify what is crucial and what is important, rather than things that have little or no value. So 20% of your day is really what you're spending on the most important things that you do. 80% is kind of busy work. To me, that's astonishing. So what are we going to do? We're going to see what those things are, and we're going to look at a couple of things. Once we identify what you're spending all the time on, then you have a choice. And you can say, look, if I want to do that for 3 hours a day, or I want to do that for 45 minutes a day, then that's on me. That's a personal choice I'm making. I'm suggesting that you have no idea how much you spend on certain tasks that you're doing. So I am going to check in with you. I'm asking you to use that question box, click on it, and tell me if you, yes or no, spend any time on social media. And social media is including Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. How many of you spend any time on social media? Just checking. Be honest with me. I'm not going to report you. It's just wanting to know. All right. The reason I've specifically used that is because I'm going to share some statistics with that. When we track our time, I want you to track it in either 15-minute, 30-minute sections. Why do I want you to do that? If you say physically go to your personal office in your home, maybe it was an office, but you haven't gone back to the office based on the setting that we're in. You say the first thing I do, I grab a cup of coffee, I go to my laptop, I turn it on, and I go through all of my emails. That's kind of where a lot of people start off. So then I want you to track, how long were you physically sitting there doing emails? And then if it says you were there for 3 hours doing emails, the minute you woke up and walked over to your desk and got started from a work mode, we need to analyze that. Why in the world did you spend 3 hours doing emails? What is on there? By looking at that, you can say, well, 80% of my emails were follow-ups from my customers wanting to know, did they get the appraisal back? Are they in underwriting yet? Did they receive my conditions? Were they cleared? Do I have a clear to close? Here's my intent to proceed. If you are spending that much time on those types of emails, there might be something and a better solution. Not that your customers, if they're from customers, aren't still going to be needy. Not that you don't want to stay in communication with them. Not that you don't want to have certain touch points throughout the mortgage process. I'm not saying any of that. But if you, say, for example, have some type of a tracking system where one of your borrowers can go and look at the status of their loan. They can look and see what was received, what was asked for, what was sent out. But you're getting all of those emails regarding status. I don't think that that tool that you have is being used. So you'd need to look at the root cause analysis of that. Why is it not being used? Did you not tell them? Do they not know how to use it? What is going on? Because if you can eliminate a large portion of what you're doing, then it has and frees up time. Because remember, we can't make more time. We can only use the time we have with what we need to do, and that you're in control of. So if you first identify how long you were doing a task, then you identify what specifically within that was I doing, that will be super helpful. Now, I also, though, want to caution you. You might say, I spent 3 hours returning emails. I'm going to push back a little bit on you, and I'm going to say, okay, were one of those emails from Groupon? Did you then say, well, I want to know what the deal of the day is? And then you clicked out there, and then you got to the Groupon site, and then you said, ooh, these are all the trending deals. And if it's meals or some type of a community, I can get 20% off. And then you shopped for a little bit, and then you saw that, and then you saw that. Oh, and then you were like, okay. And you went down the rabbit hole, and then you came out of it on the other side, and it was 40 minutes later. And then you were like, where did I start? Oh, that's right, I was on emails. And then you go back and you go, ooh, one of the items I was looking at on eBay was relisted. I missed out on it. Let me go check out that. So is it really emails that you're actually spending 3 hours on? Or was it you were looking at sales, you were looking, oh, a LinkedIn update, oh, so-and-so just posted an event because we're reopening. I really need you to look at that in depth because you can't get that time back. And if you said, hey, it's my time, I can do whatever I want in it, of course it is. And I'm not suggesting that, but I just don't want you confusing your personal time with your work time, because I want you to dedicate, if it's important to you, you giving yourself that I'm going to spend X amount of minutes on LinkedIn, because that's where I actually look and communicate with peers. That's where I have the ability to connect with future purchasers, with future clients. That's where I stay in touch with several of my past clients when I post very meaningful things. All right, so fine, let's get that in your goals as part of your strategy for selling, and you're allotting a specific amount of time for that. Are you doing personal, or are you doing business on Instagram or on Facebook or on, and just acknowledge that you're doing it. That's all. I don't know if you have an iPhone. I know that at Sunday, usually they'll give you your screen time. How much time did you spend on your phone? And that would also be, were you on your phone? Were you gaming? What were you doing? So I am literally begging you to do this particular exercise. Now, tracking your time. 20 minutes a day that you spend on Instagram, just scrolling around, seeing who posted what, looking at the pictures, that 20 minutes per day is 5 days per year of your life that you cannot get back. And you say, but I love Instagram. It's entertaining. I love it. It's great. That's fine, but just acknowledge it. That's all. That's all we're asking for. Now, using the time diary studies, people claiming to work 60 to 69 hours per week actually only worked 52. And I don't want to say that bad, like only 52. That's an incredible amount of hours. All I'm suggesting here is that the statistics say whenever you leave exhausted, you finally get out of your home office and you just think, oh my gosh, I was just in there for 9 hours. What were you doing? Was it really all work? Maybe, maybe not. Those people that think I work 70 plus hours, they worked 58. Again, an incredible amount of time spent working, but just what are you actually doing within that time? So because I'm trying to offer you tips here and really make you accountable for your time so that you really can prioritize and do more than that, and that is identify really what's critical for you personally and what's critical for you from a work perspective. Here is a great free time makeover guide. So check it out. I think that will help a lot. Keep a list of the tasks that you do need to complete, either personally or at work, because there's all tasks that we have. And when you keep these really highlighted, when you find yourself in a position where, all right, I promised myself I was going to shut down my computer at 5 o'clock today. Don't pick up something that's going to take you at least 45 minutes to an hour at 10:05 if you want to shut down your computer at 5. You're going to pick up something that's going to take you 10 minutes so that you can shut your computer down at 5. The statistics say that if you take a break from something, you step away and you come back, it takes 15 to 20 minutes to reassociate yourself with your thought process, with that task. It's just purely lost time that you can't get back. So if you try to accomplish certain tasks that you have a good idea of how long it's going to take in a time frame that you know you've allotted for it with very little to no interruptions, of course, that we can control, not having interruptions, that you're going to get back threefold by being able to physically accomplish it, be done, move on, and you now have put it away. So that's great. That's great. So when we talk about managing time and blocking time, I think that that's key. Now, one of the things that you have to do is block time for the unexpected, for some of your distractions that you know that will pop up. You know that there's going to be an issue. You know there's going to be somebody calling that has a question on the final CD. You know there's going to be a question about the money wiring, something. So just make sure that within your day, you have allotted some free time to be able to take those calls, to be able to handle those really meaningful interruptions, if we can call it that. Now, managing your time, I don't want you to give away your personal secrets or anything, but I think that it's going to be much easier if you have your personal tasks and your business tasks all on the same schedule. If you try to maintain two separate books, it's going to get complicated. One's going to be missed from the other, and it's going to just take a lot of your time to then go ahead and try to figure all of that out. So we don't want to do that. Now, I know that on my Outlook, I do a couple of shares. I share with my team so that if I got a training request and I can't fulfill it because I'm busy, I can look to see if one of our other trainers, say Julie Jewell, is available. I can hit up her calendar and say, I can't do it, but it looks like Julie might be available, so that I can get back to you faster. When I put something personal, say I have a dentist appointment, I would put that on there. I don't have to list my dentist. If I had a appointment with a psychiatrist, you don't need to know that I'm going to see a psychiatrist. So I don't want you to, again, give out personal details, but I think at least that block of time that you know what it means, and then maybe you keep your separate calendar with the details, the office, who you're seeing, some follow-up that you need to do. None of those are details that your coworkers need to know about or your boss needs to know about. By color coding them, you can really quickly scan through and identify what it is. When we look at goals, having those goals on there as well is going to be meaningful. And that's one of the things when we talk about creating a SMART goal, it has to be specific. It has to be measurable. It has to be something that you can literally achieve, being realistic and having it timed. So if you said, well, for 2020, my goal was to originate and close $200 million worth of business. You don't want to check in November on your pipeline and your closed book and say, yeah, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to be off by about 75 million. That is a terrible idea. So we need to make sure that whatever your goals are, and it could be based on production as one of your biggest goals, being a loan originator, we want to make sure that we broke that down into really mini goals. So I want to do 200 million. So by half the year, I have to do 100 million. So what does that mean per month? All right. So what does that mean per week? What does that mean as far as, do we have a purchase market? Do we have a refinance market? I mean, being really specific. And what you'll find is, if I say 200 million for the year, that's pie in the sky. But if I say, well, my average loan size is 175 to 200, and that's only about 2 loans per week, and so I have to bring, or 2, in per month, that is super easy sounding. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's so much better than 200 million by the end of the year. That's crazy talk. So make sure that we celebrate those goals and we have those as well. I don't know if you do it. I know I'm terrible at it, but I skip lunch a lot. And that's a really bad idea for so many reasons. Number one, it gives you a step away. It gives you that time to just really be creative. And when we're looking at all of the things that you have to manage as a loan originator, you have to manage people and personalities, behaviors. You have to manage a pipeline. You have to manage all of the communications through all of the investors. You have to manage your family and your work time. You have to manage through a COVID-19 pandemic. There is so much on your shoulders. You need to step away because it's physically required. So you have to eat, you have to have that fueling, but it also gives you that time where you're having a cup of soup, or you're eating a sandwich, or having a yogurt. And it's when you dream up, you know what I could do as soon as this is over, I'm going to have a this. You know what? This isn't over yet, but I'm going to have a virtual networking meeting with all the realtors and all the builders. So it just lets you step out and really just have some creative juices flowing and get some ideas there going for marketing, for best practices, for whatever it might be. I don't know if you're a football fan or not. I know I am. But Vince Lombardi said, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. Okay, so get there not on time, get there 15 minutes early. So I don't know if any of you have been stood up because we haven't gone anywhere lately, but think back and think of the last time you had a face-to-face appointment and the person that you were meeting with was late. What were you thinking about that person? Well, you can't say it out loud because you're on mute, but I know what I was thinking. And one of the first things you're thinking is they don't respect my time. You know, they didn't even show up. I'm sitting here waiting for them and they couldn't even care. They didn't even call to say they were going to be late. What's going on? And you just create this whole scenario in your head. Well, that's the same message you're sending to everybody else when you're late. So please don't be late. Arrive 15 minutes early. Now, I'm going to ask this in the question tab. How many of you prior to COVID-19 were ever caught in a traffic jam that was going to potentially cause you to be late? It was all the traffic's fault. It wasn't your fault. You got stuck behind a bus. You got stuck on a highway. There was an accident, whatever. Did any of you ever get held up by traffic? All right, so if you're not going to text chat me, I know the answer is yes. I don't care where you live. If you leave your house, you have gotten caught in traffic, no matter what. So when we look at that, the next question is, were you completely stressed behind the wheel and you were putting yourself potentially in harm's way, in danger, or somebody else in danger? You maybe were driving a little erratically. Maybe you were speeding a little bit. Maybe you were thinking, I got to get there. I can't be late. I got to get there. Think about how stressful that whole thing was. So you show up just on time and you're out of breath. You're running. You're still sending the wrong message. And why put yourself in harm's way? If you would have left earlier and got there, you potentially would have missed it. You're really scheduling for the unexpected. There could be traffic. Now, some traffic we just can't. I mean, an accident, you couldn't have planned for that. I mean, some things are just out of your control. But what we can control and anticipate, we can absolutely manage around. And then you thought, well, what am I going to do? I'm too busy. You expect me to go 15 to 20 minutes early so that I can sit there and wait for somebody? Yes, that's what I'm suggesting. But I have a good reason why I'm suggesting that. We already acknowledged that you should have identified tasks that you need to do. And it could be, I need to return a call. I needed to return an email. I need to review my pipeline. I need to, whatever it is, it's things that you know you have to do. We've already identified them in how long is it likely for me to be able to do that? Is that a 15-minute task? Is that I'm going to need 30 minutes? Is that going to be an hour? Well, because you've already identified these types of tasks that you have to do fairly regularly or that are at least on your to-do list now, we're going to pick one of those because guess what? You have 20 minutes to be able to do that. So we're not going to pick one that's going to take 30 minutes. We're going to pick one that takes 10 minutes so that if the person that you're waiting for arrives early, because personalities and really the folks that are the most successful typically show up early. You then can bond, get that meeting over a little bit faster and get some of your time that you allotted back. So there's no wasting of time when you do that. You also haven't put yourself in harm's way and you reduced a ton of stress that you actually put on yourself. So what do we want to do for tip number 2? Well, it says make Monday your most difficult day. And you're thinking, well, I don't have to take any action on that. Monday is my most difficult day. Well, I'm going to challenge you on that as well. When we think the most stressful day of the week is Monday, it's not. because what we did is we already thought it was going to be, because it was, oh, I took the weekend off and now I got to go back, and now I got to sit at my desk and I got to take all those calls. And so then you get in and then you're like, oh, it's Monday. Oh, and you kind of, yeah, I don't even know how to say this. You make it through the day. Let's call it that. But because you didn't start off Monday with a bang and say, all right, it's time to hit the road. Let's go. Let's do this. I wasn't working Saturday, or I did very little, because I know you're on call 24/7, but I wasn't doing what I normally do as much as I normally do it. I did take a little time for myself. So let's get at this Monday. Let's get all these things done. This is what I need to achieve, and really just hit the road running. Because you didn't do that, you are under so much more pressure by midday Tuesday than you ever were on Monday. So it actually becomes right around noon Tuesday. If you work a normal, say 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 day, that's when you're the most stressed. So we want to change that. Monday, we're going to hit the road running. And by Friday, it's going to be a cakewalk, because I would suggest that you have 80% of your tasks that have been pre-identified completed by Wednesday. That way, the unexpected, the things that pop up, oh, I do need this by the end of the week after all, you got time to do that on Thursday and Friday. When we look also, if folks are shopping, it's not as like it used to be. Almost everybody physically visited homes on Saturday and Sunday, and it's still a little bit true, but so many more people now, because they can't get in or they just rely so much more on the internet. It may not be as heavily, kind of weighed on a Monday. I bought something went into contract. So we have to look at trends and see what happens there as we kind of go through this. When we look at Monday through Thursday, when we look at that last section of our day, so whenever you've identified that you want to shut it down, and some of you are like, are you kidding? I can't shut down by 5. I can't shut down even by 6. I probably shut down every night about 7. Whatever that is, whatever it is, when you have identified when you do want to kind of shut down and move from work mode into personal mode, you need to spend at least 15 minutes of your current workday of identifying and preparing what you can do the next day. And by doing that, it's going to be like that Monday where you can come in the next day and you're not fumbling around and wasting time on what you're going to work on. You have a plan. So that is really, really, really key. When we look at that plan, okay, what does that really look like? A detailed proposal of doing or achieving something, a to-do list. I mean, it doesn't have to be official. I mean, it can be a piece of paper. Don't think, well, I'm going to get organized when the store's open and I can go to IKEA and I can buy their organizational blah. Stop. Just stop. That's procrastination. You can get out a piece of paper and make a plan. Well, I'm going to wait till I take an Excel class and then I'm going to create an Excel spreadsheet. But until then, I'm not going to be organized and I'm not going to create a plan. Nope, that's an excuse. You're not allowed to do that. This is a great additional tool for you, and really how to be more productive, how to be confident, and really what all of you, I hope, are seeking and accomplishing is being happy. So great, live, love, and matter. Create a plan. By doing that, you have to do a couple of things. I need a step. So we talked about a SMART goal, and that is, again, being very specific, making sure that you are measuring it, make sure that it is achievable. And part of that and realistic are two different things, and they sound really similar. You have to know where you are and where you want to go. And then you have to know what kind of tools that you have to be able to do that. but you also need to know what's the economy doing, what's the forecast, so it's not only your personal ability, your personal skills, tools, where you work, what's available to you, but it's also a much bigger global market, with rates, with real estate in your area, with what you're allowed, what is your loan amount size, where do you cover, where are you licensed to do business, all of those things. In some of these cases, in all of these cases, when you have a goal, you need other people. So it's great to say, well, I'm going to accomplish this as long as I get Sue and Joe and, Trevon's, buy-in. Well, no, you need to identify all of the people that you need to accomplish your goal, and you need to get them involved. You need to get them motivated. You need to make sure that they commit the time that they're going to need, or you need to make a new plan. If you're not going to have the resources that you need, then that's not going to work for you. And you can't then blame why you weren't successful with your goal on somebody else, because that should have been identified in the very, very beginning. So that's key. So plan for the results that you're looking for. List each step to move you closer to what you are looking for. What does success look like for you? Make sure that you schedule every one of those steps on your calendar. And remember, it's color coded, so you're easily going to be identifying what you're actually doing and how does that apply to a goal in your life. Is that personal? Is that business? Is that sales related, or is that marketing related? What we tend to do as loan officers is spend really about 80% of your time on your current pipeline. What you're avoiding, though, is you should be spending equal amounts of time on the current pipeline, on your past pipeline and your customers, and on your will-be future customers. Because if you spend 80% of your time on your current pipeline, when those loans close, you have no new loans that you are refilling your pipeline with. And it's really hard because you're thinking, oh, but these are, we didn't get the appraisal in. This one came in bad. The guy doesn't have access to it. This one was furloughed. Now she's going to get back. We have to, I know, and it's even harder right now, but you have to have your eye on the goal, which is keeping that pipeline filled and that $200 million that you set as a goal. And again, it doesn't have to be $200 million. I just threw that out there. Do the worst first and the most important steps first. Why the worst first? Not everyone is going to get approved. And it might be terrifying or super uncomfortable for you to have to call and say that their loan was declined. I know, I hated that. That was one of the worst things I had to do as a loan officer. I hated it. So you might think, oh, I really got to tell her that. Yeah. After lunch, I'm going to call and let her know. Yeah, I got to call the realtor too. She's really going to be mad at me. I think I should probably do that later. You know what? Fresh in the morning, I'm going to make those calls. You are literally going to be worrying about that all night. You're going to be distracted. It's going to be weighing you down. It's not fair to the other people around you, especially if you're bringing that to your, kind of private time. Get it over with. Do the worst first. The other thing is do what's important first. And when we do something that's important, we want to do that at the beginning of the day. So wake up early. And waking up early, I know some of you are not morning people, but we only have a certain amount of time. So if you have to start your day because you are tied to a call center and you literally are being monitored that you now are live on the phone at 8:30. You don't want to get up at 8:15. That gives you zero time to yourself. You need to wake up early, whatever that early looks like to you, so that you can do things that are important to you, that are scheduled out. And some of those might be exercise. Have breakfast. Forget just lunch. You should be eating breakfast too. Whatever that looks like. And if you get up early before anybody else gets up and you have your own private time, there's less interruptions that you didn't have to schedule for. One statistic that I thought is just amazing, 1 extra hour of sleep can equal 3 hours of productive time the next day. 1 hour sleep gives you 3 hours of productive day. That is amazing. So not just limping through the day in a fog, actually being super productive. We want to make sure that we make all of the tough choices that you have to make. The really detailed, maybe reviewing a self-employed borrower's tax return or the new requirement for an audited or P&L. You need to do that in the morning. You do not want to be doing that at 4 o'clock after you've been at it all day. So that's why it's really critical that you schedule things that are worst first and that are the most important first. Sherry also brought up something that said, you have to make your schedule reflect your phone appointments, your callbacks, maybe some cold calling, maybe I'm just giving you a status update call. All of those things are critical. So invest in yourself. Wake up early, do the things that are important, and exercise is really, really key. I know some of you say, like, I'm going to get in shape. Well, I can't get in shape because my gym is closed and it's been closed since March. Outside isn't closed. Go take a walk. Okay, don't do it in the heat of the day. Walk around. If you don't want to go outside, walk around your apartment or your home. Do something, stretch. Take a yoga class online, but check with your doctor to make sure that exercise is acceptable and what type, but just move. It is good for the mind. It's good for the body. It's good for mood enhancing. So make a little bit of time to move, do something. I think that will really, really, really help. Most impactful things, that's what we've been talking about, your decisions, those crucial conversations, the strategizing, the analyzing. If you are set to a task, you're not really typically creative thinking. I'm asking you to weigh in and tell me, have any of you thought of a brilliant idea while you were in the shower? While you were doing something that you just kind of go through, that it's not something that you have to think about, you just come up with it and it's just, wow, I thought about this when I was laying in bed this morning, or I thought about this when I was in the shower, or I thought about this when I was mowing the lawn, because you just go back and forth and back and forth. There's not a whole lot of thought process in that. It's you're giving your mind that downtime where it's not having to make critical decisions, listening, having a critical conversation, having to be in a meeting strategizing about your marketing concepts. It's when you're doing something that is accomplishing a task, but there wasn't a whole lot of thought process that was required for it. And hopefully that makes sense. So look at that and think about your downtime and get a little bit creative. Create routines, and that's what we're talking about here. Whether it be a walk, whether it be all of your energy. Focus on excellent communication. Emails, phone calls. First off, you have to connect and ask the borrower, your coworker, your underwriter, what is their favorite mode of communication? It does seem to appear, and statistics will back it up, that younger folks would rather text than talk on the phone. Now, we have to be really careful about this because certain conversations or certain communications, I should say, with borrowers are not appropriate to be text, to be posted, to be. Everything you do is a reflection on you. So let's just say, for example, an email. Strong subject line, don't make it more than 3 words. Make sure that your message is very focused. What's it for? Is it an update? Is it something that you need from them? Are you asking them to actually do a task? They need to scan through it and see what the point is. It needs to be very, very professional. If you don't get responses and you've sent us a couple, you have to follow it up with a phone call. You have to look at that. Now, what do I mean by professional? I mean, use punctuation. Don't type in all caps. That's not appropriate. Don't be brief. Don't make it sound like a text. Don't abbreviate words. Think of it as you're putting a pen to a paper and you are officially drafting a business correspondence. Just because it's an email doesn't take away from the fact that it is there. Again, it is never going to go away. It's always trackable. We just want it to reflect well on you. So when you're using email to network, when is the optimum time? And when are people active? When are they likely to read emails? So there's a lot of different statistics going on here. Tuesday emails have the highest open rate compared to other days. I get that, but does anybody recall a statistic that I shared with you that also involved Tuesdays? Anybody? Anybody recall what we talked about for Tuesdays? Nobody? Come on, help me out here a little bit. All right, Tuesday, right around noon, is the most stressful day. So although Tuesday emails have the highest open rate, that's great, but do I really want, if I am networking, to have somebody open my email literally at the most stressful point of their week? Because what's the likelihood I'm going to get a follow-up? What's the likelihood that that is going to have a success rate from it turning into something meaningful from a networking perspective to a customer, to a referral, to a whatever it might be? Phone calls, terrifying statistics. 80% of phone calls go to voicemail, and only 10% of calls get a response from a voicemail after one voicemail. 90% go unresponded to. So what does that mean? That means that you have to follow up. So prepare before you leave a voicemail, before you send an email, before you have any communication, prepare. Of course, that goes without saying. What is your purpose? What is your purpose for calling? What is your purpose for this communication? If it's not a voicemail, but it's actually a conversation, then you have to listen. Now, listening is tough. Listening is something that we were never taught to do. We were taught how to speak. We were taught how to write, how to read, how to write sentences, how to form paragraphs, but no one ever taught you to listen. And most people are not good at it. Most people, when people are talking, are in their head formulating what their response is. But as you're formulating the response to something they said, they're still talking. And by the time you're ready to blurt out your response, they've already moved on. That wasn't even their point. So you have to listen and then review and summarize to make sure that you're both on the same page. So that's key. Couldn't be more powerful than a good listener. Voicemail messages. We talked about voicemail and just the lack of it. So when you're leaving one, who are you? Where are you from? How can that person reach you? Because you're calling them for a reason. You're calling them for information. You're calling them for something. So you need to connect in the future if you wanted something. So what would be the best way to do that? When can it be returned? And then thanking them for that time. 90% of those are going to go unresponded to. Use your voicemail to establish expectations with your customer, but be really, really careful. You can't, for example, say, hey, it's John from US Lending, and I reviewed your credit report and I saw that you currently have litigation and you're past due on your child support. So if you just want to call me back, we need to take care of that. I'm not sure if it was a bankruptcy. It looks like you lost a house back from a foreclosure. Please stop. You cannot leave any NPI, non-public information on any voicemails or email. Please don't do that. That's just inappropriate. They could be listening to it or picking up their messages on speaker. You just don't know. It's just not a good idea, and it could be really more than not a good idea. There could be some legal implications, so we don't want to do that. But we do want to practice. If you are a person that you leave messages for people and it's so long that it beeps, cuts you off, and you have to call back, That is just wrong. Please practice. You need to be shorter. Be very, very concise and leave a way to call them back, to get back to them, to communicate them, give context. State your name and number at the beginning and at the end of the call. Don't give all of the details, but encourage that it's meaningful, of why they need to be motivated to call you back so that you're one of the 10% of the calls that get actually responded to. Utilize resource and your partners. You have so many just available resources out there. I've shared a couple of them with you. There's the TED Talks, there's LinkedIn, there are some really, but you have to schedule time to be able to do that. Well, I want to go listen to one TED Talk a week. Well, then put that on your schedule, and I want it color coded. Hopefully at Genworth, we can be your partner of value. We have additional training. We have tips and tools. We have checklists. We have calculators for calculating income on self-employed and non-self-employed people. Whatever it might be that we can do for you, please let us know. We are more than just mortgage insurance, but of course we like that too if your borrower does have that less than 20% down. This is all about us, and I really want to make sure it's about you. So this is my legal disclaimer. I hope that this was valuable to you. Kevin, I'm just gonna kind of throw it back out to you. I didn't know if you had any tips or wisdom that you wanted to share or end this call with, other than just I'm very thankful that you invited me to be part of your day. And that's it. Kevin, are you still with us? Not sure? All right, well, thank you so much. I know that he would say thank you as well. And I didn't see any questions for me, so I am going to end the call. It was actually recorded, and I will send everyone a copy of the presentation. Thank you so much. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.